Failed gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake is nuking her own party, is going to assist in the destruction electorally of the GOP. And I have an example of why that is in a clip that I'll show you in just a moment. Now, it comes within the context of her attacking Ron DeSantis, which fine by me, attack Ron DeSantis, but there's a broader point that is made that is very destructive. And as she, for some reason, is really popular within MAGA, a little MAGA celebrity, she's drawing a line in the sand, I guess you could say, which is going to be very harmful to the party electorally. So we'll talk more about this, and there's more clips to look at, but first this one.
Ron DeSantis is not electable. There is not a snowball's chance in hell that he can beat any Democrat, and here's why. Do you think for 1 minute that the entirety of the MAGA world will go over and vote for Ron DeSantis, a guy who stabbed Donald Trump in the back, a guy who is lying and saying he believes Joe Biden legitimately won? These people aren't going to vote for Ron DeSantis under any circumstance. Many of them, millions of people won't.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to push that whole narrative that Trump is unelectable. No. Trump won 12 million additional votes from 16 to 20, and he's going to win tens of millions more this time.
So weird, strange dynamic. By the way, just before continuing, Stephen Colbert once said that, I think it was Stephen Colbert, one of the late night hosts, because of all the filters she uses, she looks like a fascist hologram. Classic. We'll get to more from this interview where she makes fun of DeSantis wiping his boogers on people. We'll get to that. But if MAGA decides, as Kari Lake is trying to get them to decide, that we will not vote for you, not just in the primary, but if you get a nomination across any of these races and become the nominee of the Republican Party, we won't vote for you even over a Democrat. We'll just stay home. If you have crossed Trump in any way, and if you have accepted, which is a way of crossing Trump, the results of the 2020 election. And then if we cross 2024, the results of that election likely if Biden wins. You're going to have a sizable portion of the Republican Party, unfortunately, which is MAGA, that will then not go out to vote for Republican candidates and tank their chances in election after election. We see how close a lot of these elections are. And if MAGA stays home, doesn't vote for the Republican candidate, no chance they could be a Democrat, especially nationally in a presidential race. So that's one interesting element of this. The other is DeSantis, because of people like Kari Lake and others within the MAGA movement, might have wrecked his career. Because again, unfortunately, so much of the GOP right now is MAGA supporters and Trump supporters. And if they buy into the ideology that Steve Bannon and Kari Lake and many other hardcore Trump supporters push, that because of DeSantis' run here, he's now anti-MAGA and he's crossed Trump and we can't support him, DeSantis might fall out of relevance, which is fine by me. It's unfortunate that such a dangerous movement is the one outcasting him, but as long as he gets outcasted, I guess. Before discussing further, here's more from this interview.
Okay, DeSantis says Trump lost 2020. DeSantis in single digits. End of DeSantis' run. The rest of it's all nonsense. I don't care how many times he debates Newsom. This is all Murdoch generated. It's all Murdoch phony. Did I mention the Murdochs are foreigners? Did I mention that? Kari Lake, your thoughts about Ron?
Imagine just tuning into this on a daily basis. My goodness. Thank you for watching me and other shows like mine and not that.
DeSantis.
Well, I said I was going to give him a pro tip because I was watching as he's campaigning across Iowa, and Iowa's hot and sweaty in the summer. I know people think of the cold winters there, but, have you seen the video? It's like every time he's around people, he's so awkward, but he's literally wiping the sweat off of his face and then touching people and rubbing his nose. Ron, use a tissue, please. The people of Iowa do not appreciate having your runny nose and your sweaty face rubbed all over them. Be a human being and be polite. Blot your face with a tissue, but please don't rub.
Okay, so what is being referred to there? I'll put this up on screen. Muted because there's some music playing in this clip, but Ron DeSantis, definitely an odd guy who does some odd things, including rubbing his sweat or boogers or something on people. And there's a different clip of him kind of rubbing his nose and then patting someone on the back. It looks like he's wiping it off. Least important part about him, though, because it is absolutely correct to criticize Ron DeSantis. It's interesting to note that he's also an awkward person. That hurts you in campaigns for sure. PR related stuff does matter for campaigning. But most importantly, you should call him out and criticize him for his horrible policies and horrible rhetoric and horrible motivations. But for Kari Lake and MAGA, that's not their issue with him. And that is what is so notable about this, that they are now setting a precedent, laying kind of the groundwork, and their playbook's going to be, in the primary, if you want our support, you're going to have to be an election denier. You have to say 2020 was stolen. But if they get that, if they win in primaries, in Republican primaries, which they can, as we've seen, then in the general electorate, you're a toxic candidate, and Kari Lake lost, Doug Mastriano, Masters, and many others, because of their election denying radical extreme positions. And so that's one option that hurts the GOP significantly. The second option is MAGA loses in the primary and a non-election denier, a non-full Trumper, wins the primary. Then Kari Lake and others are saying, well, then you won't get our support in the general. And then they won't have the full Republican Party, which they need to win these general elections against Democrats in a lot of cases. And so either way it goes, because of this litmus test, you're going to see massively damaging outcomes for the GOP, which it's the bed they made. And that's on them. They shouldn't have allowed this to become so prominent within their party. One more clip, and this is from an Eric Bolling interview.
A federal government, state governments that have been turned and weaponized against the people, against their political opponents.
So along
this is
along those lines, Kari, have the other candidates who are running for president, have they stepped up and supported Trump enough? And name some names. Who has and who hasn't?
Well, I'll name one name, and he's not running for president yet, but I sure as heck have been wondering where he's been, why he's allowing this to happen in his state, and his name is Brian Kemp. And he is the, I'm going to call him what he is, a rhino. He's a governor of Georgia, and he's allowing this kind of nonsense to happen in his state. It's outrageous, and he can't manage to put his hatred of President Trump behind him and actually care about justice in his state. And so
I guess she's calling for Brian Kemp to intervene in the prosecution of Trump for some reason. But there, with all my criticisms of Brian Kemp, he is a popular Republican governor right now in Georgia. And so she's further dividing the party into smaller and smaller portions, which is not going to be beneficial. I can tell you, make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.